on? I'm Heavy Hooks, aka Rodney Smith, an Indianapolis, Indiana artist, teacher, father, and just a soul out here in the universe, a spirit floating around on this giant ball or flat earth, whatever it is people believe nowadays. It's October 19th, 2021, and it is the kickoff of the NBA, National Basketball Association, regular season. And I had a few thoughts about this because a lot of people are going to be tuning in to a majority African American professional sporting event. Well, multiple events since it's the start of the season. And I wanted to remind people again that everything is political by definition. If you look up Merriam's dictionary definition of politics, you'll see that the fifth definition says that the total complex relations between people in a society is politics. That means everything within a society is political. All right, that means the music, the movies, the sports, whatever it is you want to name is political. And the working definition that I have of politics is the process people use to get what they need and want. The process people use to get what they need and want. And if you want to break it down to its simplest working terms, just an example of my working definition would be a baby, right? A newborn baby cannot talk, but it needs stuff. And how does it get other people to understand that it needs something? It cries, and it will scream when it really needs something. So that is the political process that a baby uses so that it can get what it needs and wants. It will scream because it hasn't developed a language yet. And we need to understand that we live in a complex society with adults. So adults will do more than just scream. They will be very creative in the way they go about getting what they need and what they want. And if you're rich, then you have a lot at your disposal to manipulate other people into giving you what you need and want. This includes the media, which is owned and controlled by the wealthier class of people. So this also means that just because someone is the same race as you does not mean they have the same political interests, or said in another way, people that are in another economic class as you have different needs and wants based on that economic class. If I am making $100,000 a year, $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, I have different needs and wants than somebody that makes less than $100,000 a year. I'm gonna be looking for different tax shelters, trusts. If I die, I'm looking for ways to protect my estate, so that when I pass on my wealth to my family, they get it without losing much. That's different than somebody that is making minimum wage. Okay, so this tells us that there are class differences that we need to keep in mind when we are thinking about ways to give our class the things that it needs. Okay, we have to be aware that if someone's in a different class than us, they may not necessarily want to agree with the type of policies and laws that we want to implement. And how does this all pertain to the opening night of the NBA? Well, people think professional sports is not political, and they think that it's there for pure entertainment, and that it's more important to focus on professional sports, or more important to focus on entertainment, than it is people's material well-being, or the material things people need to survive in a society. And they've been convinced that it is corny or weird to talk about the material needs or the political strategies or the social well-being or educational status of people. All of that is considered weird and unimportant. And we see this a lot in music and movies, because a lot of music and movies, the content stays away from what I'm talking about right now. And many people are going to tune into the NBA and not tune their minds towards things that are economically, politically, and socially important, because a lot of people have been convinced that these things are not political, are uncool, and unimportant. And I want to stress to people that that is untrue. Just because mainstream music does not put a focus on organizing as a people, or class differences, or the financial or social status of different classes or races of people or groups of people, does not mean that it's unimportant and uncool. It just means that those who own and control those areas do not want the common person, the common working person, the common poor person, the common unemployed person to have those thoughts at the front of their mind, so that they don't get with other people and change things. They don't want us organizing and threaten the power that they have. When I say they, I'm talking about those people who own and control the parts of our society that we need control of, that would actually change the way that we live in society. They would prefer us to just watch the NBA and NFL and movies and listen to music and think that all of those things are unconnected to how poor we are, unconnected to the incarceration rate, unconnected to homelessness and any other social problems that we experience. And I like to put a lot of this in my music, because I want people thinking about this and organizing to change their lives. So I need people to understand that there are class differences, and that this stands in our way of getting things accomplished to change society in the way that we think it needs to be changed. So these are my heavy thoughts. This doesn't mean that I think we should not be entertained, because entertainment does serve an important function, especially in a society where people are filled with stress. Stress causes, physiological changes in us, and we need ways to relieve that stress. And entertainment is a great way to relieve that stress. I think sports and music and movies are all important, but we cannot be fooled into thinking that they're not political and have no impact in the way that we think and behave, because they do. This is why the wealthy class of people invest so much money in these movies and music, because they know it influences the way that we think and behave. And they know that the majority of our youth and adults are consuming entertainment based media more than academic based media. Therefore, people's political thoughts are going to match what is in the mainstream. And the mainstream is not talking about the things that I'm talking about: organizing, taking collective action. Instead, they're more focused on promiscuous sex, drug use to escape, violence in the form of killing people in your own race, especially if you're black. And if you're black, a lot of this violence and promiscuous sex becomes connected to what it means to be authentically black. And this is just not true. But this is what happens when we don't get these types of conversations in our schools or through the media. So I'm Heavy Hooks. This is my heavy thought of the night, and I hope you enjoyed what I talked about.